The air in the living room felt stripped bare, like all the oxygen had been pulled out, leaving me hollow. You don't get to criticize my friends, Tom. Sarah's voice cracked through the silence like a whip, her eyes lit with defiance I barely recognized. The words lingered sharp and cutting, slicing to the soft hum of another suburban evening. I stood rooted to the spot, coffee mug burning against my palm, staring at the woman I'd loved for 10 years as she defended the very people I'd warned her about over and over. The sting wasn't only in her words. It was in her gaze, the way she looked at me like I no longer belonged in my own house. On Maple Street, our home was the picture of normal. White picket fence, creaky old hardwood floors, the faint lavender glow of her candles. But that night, the warmth of those candles mocked me. I had just come home from a grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital, scrubs still carrying the faint smell of antiseptic. I expected the usual. Sarah curled up with a book, maybe a glass of wine, her smile easing the chaos from my day. Instead, she was pacing, clutching her phone like a lifeline, her face torn between guilt and fury. "Sarah, I'm not judging them," I said quietly, setting down the mug, trying to keep the crack out of my voice. "I'm worried about you. Lena and Marcus, they're no good for you. They're using you." The words felt useless, like pebbles tossed against a wall. Lena with her sly smiles, endless emergencies that drained Sarah's time and money. Marcus with his late-night texts, his too familiar lean at parties. I'd seen the signs for months, years, if I admitted it. But love blinds you to the obvious. She laughed, brittle and sharp, the sound never touching her eyes. "Using me? They're my friends, Tom. They're there when you're not." The words hit like a punch. I almost reminded her of the nights I held her through tears, the life I'd built around her. But something in her tone stopped me, a cold edge, something deeper, something hidden. The first red flag had been at Lena's birthday, a year ago. Sarah was distant, laughing too loud, her eyes darting toward Marcus every time he spoke. I told myself it was the wine or stress from her new law firm job. But then came the girls' trips, the late-night phone calls in the backyard, the stiff way she answered when I asked about her day. I excused it all. Marriage runs on trust, I told myself. But trust is delicate, and doubt eats away at it like poison. "Sarah," I said softly, stepping closer, hands open as if I could catch whatever was slipping away. "Please, just tell me what's going on." My voice broke. I hated that. Hated how small I felt. The man who held lives together in an ER was unraveling in his own home. She turned, her shoulders tight, blonde hair glowing in the lamplight. "Nothing's going on, Tom. You're paranoid." But her voice wavered. And when she faced me, her eyes were wet, not with sorrow, but fear. The weeks that followed were thick with tension. She stared at her phone constantly, fingers hovering over the screen like she needed permission to breathe. I began checking bank statements, something I'd never done before. Withdrawals I couldn't explain. 500 here, 1,000 there, always tied to Lena, always under emergencies. When I asked, Sarah's answers fell apart quickly, her anger snapping like a trapped animal. "You don't trust me," she'd spit, and I'd back off, drowning in guilt. But doubt, once planted, grows roots. One night, unable to sleep, chest heavy with unease, I broke the promise I'd made to myself. I checked her phone. The password was still our anniversary. Relief flickered, then died as I scrolled. The messages weren't from Lena. They were from Marcus. "Meet me at the usual spot. Don't tell Tom." My stomach dropped. I kept scrolling. Late night plans, coded phrases. And one photo that gutted me completely. A blurry shot in Marcus's car. Sarah leaning against him, his hand on her thigh. The phone shook in my hands. My world tilted. The woman I'd built a future with, the woman I thought I'd grow old beside, was a stranger. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I just sat there waiting. When she came home at 2 a.m., her hair mussed, lipstick smudged, she froze. The phone was still in my hand. "Tom," she whispered, barely audible. "What are you doing?" I lifted the phone, my throat tight. "Want to explain this?" My voice was calm. Too calm, the kind of quiet before a storm. Her face crumpled, but with anger, not guilt. "You went through my phone," she shot back, stepping forward. "How dare you? How dare I?" My voice cracked as it rose. "You're sneaking around with Marcus. Sarah, you've been giving Lena our money, lying to me, and somehow I'm the bad guy." Her mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes flicked to the side. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd finally confess. Then her phone buzzed. She lunged for it, but I was faster. On the screen, "Sarah, you idiot. Marcus told me everything. You're screwed. Lena." The words hung in the air like a death knell. I stared at Sarah, waiting for denial, for an explanation. Instead, she stood pale and trembling. "Tom," she whispered, "it's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I shouted, control snapping. "Tell me, Sarah, what the hell is going on?" She dropped onto the couch, face buried in her hands. "It was supposed to be a surprise," she muttered. "Lena and Marcus were helping me plan something for our anniversary. A trip. I didn't want you to know." The words didn't land. A surprise? A trip? The text, the money, the photo, they didn't fit. "You're lying," I said flatly. "You're lying and you know it." Her eyes lifted to mine, and for the first time I saw the truth. Not in what she said, but in what she couldn't say. She couldn't hold my gaze. The betrayal wasn't just Lena or Marcus. It was Sarah. She'd chosen them over me, long before I'd allowed myself to see it. The next morning, I packed a bag. She begged me to stay, sobbing, but I couldn't hear her anymore. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone who let her so-called friends drag her into lies. As I walked out, door clicking shut, I heard her muffled sob. "No one can judge me, Tom. Not you. Not them." But judgment had already fallen. Lena's text proved it. Her friends had turned on her, just as I had. I drove away from Maple Street, the lavender of our home fading in the rearview mirror. And I wondered if she'd ever see the truth, that the people she'd offended had betrayed her long before I ever did.